Hey, everybody, welcome to Paranormal Into the Night, right here on the Late Late Horror Show. We are going to have back right in a few minutes here after the introduction, Michelle Belanger. She was a great guest last time. She got two shows to talk about, and we got to get this Kickstarter off the ground. We will talk about that, though. First, let me say hello to everybody. Oh, and everybody who was talking in the chat about the whistleblower, who's about the UFO. The whistleblower is big news. I don't know why it was big news, but a bunch of BS. Listen, I'm tired of hearing over the past 40 years, yes, I've got all this information to get out there to you, and I'm telling you, but I'm not going to give you no information on who told me. Everybody's going to be anonymous. It's just freaking ridiculous. I'm sick of that. I dealt with that for 40 years. And if you go back 40 years and you listen to those people who said that, nothing ever came of any of that. So anyways, that's my little thing for the beginning of the show. But hello, everybody. Edward Stewart, Connie Clary, Black Roses, Sears James, what's going on? Good to see you, my friend. CM, Ed Stathis, whomever I am. How you doing? What's going on? Nice to see you. I got links here. Here's the link to the Kickstarter. I am going to play the trailer for the Kickstarter that they got going, but you guys will be blown away by the trailer. If you like the old shows like Ghost Hunters and stuff like that, although this is totally different, fresh and new, and I like that. We're also going to be talking vampires again and dreams and some other stuff, so plenty to talk about. I don't want to keep Michelle too long. I said hello to everybody. Check out the links below. Hit the thumbs up button. And, of course, if you're here right now, you're subscribed already. So there you go. But, yeah, let me bring in Michelle. Hey, I don't want to keep you over there too long. How you doing, Michelle?
Pretty good. Hanging in. I mean, I will say launching a Kickstarter is that's a lot of work. Not gonna lie. First 2 days trying to it's a lot.
Oh, I bet. But you guys have, like it said, like over 100 hours of footage. So you kind of got series ready to go, and the docu-series too that you were talking about, that's on the Kickstarter, and both of the shows, which one of them's Inhuman Beings that I've seen, and that is more of your paranormal type, investigative type show.
Yeah, that feels familiar for folks who like a team going to a location and trying to figure out what's going on. A big difference is there's like some intertwined elements of something we'd noticed is a couple of these locations activity would ramp up when certain people involved in the other show were doing things elsewhere. So like there's this weird I don't know like there's a web of activity and some shared spirits, and we were sort of exploring that too. It's how we ended up with two separate shows that are part of the same project.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes because, yes, the eclectic group that you got has got to bring so many different directions and points of view and information from all of the people that you got in the group. Somebody says Jenny Marie, oh, my favorite lady, Michelle, so you must know you. Hello. So, you know what, let me say real quick, let people know who you are if they haven't heard of you before. You are Michelle Belanger, an occult expert, presenter, singer, psychic, and author of more than 30 books on the paranormal topics. Michelle has been featured on TV shows, yes, including A&E's Paranormal State, good show, and the Travel Channel's Portals to Hell, as a psychic medium and occult expert. A person of many talents, Michelle has performed with musical groups, including the dark metal band Urn, and the Gothic duo Nox Arcana. I think I said that right. In the 1990s, Michelle was the editor of Shadowdance, a magazine dedicated to dark fringe cult that has since been reborn as a podcast. I don't know if that's still up. Okay,
yep,
now
we're still recording season the next season. We wanted to take
and it's Shadowdance, right?
Doing a TV show and a Kickstarter.
Right? Oh man. Okay. Let's see. Let me finish this up. Nowadays, Michelle teaches online classes and creates a variety of resources for personal psychic development. I just wanted to get all that out there. She's got a 150-year-old Airbnb, which is awesome, at inspiration36.com. I think that's still good too, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. So lots of stuff going on. I mean, unbelievable stuff. Very
Bliss says
reputable.
hello.
Oh, hey, there you go. Black cats, gotta love them. So let's get into this. Love both groups. Okay, so let's get into this. I didn't even know we were going to talk about this, but I think the show is going to revolve around your Kickstarter, New Blood. And let me should I play the trailer and then you can go into talking about it and everything?
Yeah, and that
Okay.
way people in the chat, if they have questions and need, like they can be like, hey, I saw this thing. What else? What does
Yeah.
it mean? So yeah, let's play it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, you guys, is I'm going to play a trailer. This is the trailer for the Kickstarter for the 2 paranormal shows they're trying to get off the ground. Again, the link, I think I've dropped it there. Please go there and support it if you can, or share it anywhere you can. It all helps. But watch this trailer, and you guys tell me if this doesn't look darn good. I mean, this looks good. So here we go.
Greetings, fellow seekers. I'm Michelle Belanger. Maybe you've seen me on Paranormal State, Portals to Hell, Conjuring Kesha, a whole bunch of other shows. I am a psychic medium on television, but what you might not know is I am a psychic vampire. In fact, I wrote the book on it. I am a founding member of the modern vampire community, and I'm here to take you on quite a ride. Get into the core of yourself. Expand your awareness.
We decided when we created this team that we didn't want to be banishers. We don't want to banish entities. We don't want to send them to the light. Our job is to go in and make contact with them the best we can and learn everything we can about them.
Is there anything non-human on this land? Yes.
There's been a being hovering over you, like right in front of Aubrey this whole time.
With one hand on the planchette.
It might be a good night to see if you can't see lights in the sky.
I was getting the phrase, look up, look up, look up.
Can't really see anything else in the sky but
Except that one light.
What's going on? Something in there's going on. I don't know if I've ever had a situation where that many things have gone off at one time. Everything from EMF to spirit box and REM pod all going off here, and my name coming out of a spirit box over and over again. I mean, that's what every paranormal investigator wants. I'm Fenelon Kush, and I'm a paranormal investigator and host of Follow the Woo podcast. About a year ago, I put together a team of vampires, witches, psychics, paranormal researchers, and filmmakers to create a different kind of paranormal show. Together, we created 2 new shows. That's right, 2 all original paranormal TV shows with unlimited potential. Our first show is a paranormal investigation show where we journey to locations with reports of high strangeness and investigate those places through an intersectional lens.
I've actually seen ghosts my entire life. It is just my way of interacting with the world. It's normal. We ended up here because Megan has had a lot of weird activity here, up to and including goats going missing out of a locked pen at night. There's been full body apparitions, there's been lights in the forest captured on camera, there's weird footprints, there's all the weird, literally all of it. I just live here.
There's an energy sort of towards the left. It doesn't feel great, to be honest, but I'm still not like scared.
I would describe myself as an energy reader, tarot reader, I think mystic. There's something about a situation with the daughter and the priest where something wasn't fair, something wasn't right, and someone is still upset about it.
Do you want me to tell you what each of them is?
Yeah.
Because they've all got a story.
but sometimes you're there for the humans who own the space. Maybe it is an entity, or maybe it's just an energy that needed to be released.
I think something that's been really interesting to me is how connected all of these experiences were. The connections between the ghosts and fae and alien things. I was kind of just interested in how weird it could get.
Oh fuck, are the doors locked? I'm freaked out. Yeah. I'm leaving, I'm fucking leaving.
And everything ended up feeling so much weirder than I thought it would.
Our second show is a deep dive into a paranormal journey, taking us unexpected places, like the intersection between the paranormal, the occult, and modern vampires.
If I were a vampire, would it be that bad?
You have no sort of frame of reference for anything that's happening, so your body doesn't know how to react to anything yet.
Really early on in the vampire community, there was a sort of urban legend of a ritual where you could turn someone into a vampire. People would have awakening experiences, like these bursts of inspiration, initiatory experiences, that feeding is an initiatory experience. We don't trust it.
What don't we trust?
This whole study,
You don't trust us?
it's when we don't have an easy normative story to be like, I'm an ordinary person. What do I call myself because I'm not like all these other people? Almost everybody that I know who identifies as a vampire is neurodivergent.
I'm in like an exceptionally vulnerable position, and I don't trust all of you here. Who's gonna have my back? Like, I don't know. I know you will.
There's a void in the world of paranormal TV. As the only openly intersex person working in paranormal television, part of my mission is to make this space more inclusive and diverse. We're doing this independently so that we don't have to play by anyone else's rules. We want to be able to tell our story our way. The freedom to just be as authentic and messy and weird as we really are. Let's make the paranormal queer again.
So we're turning to new blood.
Okay, well, there you go. Listen, Michelle, that was awesome. That was awesome and got me excited. And I'm like, I hope that you get this launched off the ground. I think you should.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, the cool thing is it's already filmed. Like it's a no risk Kickstarter. We're raising the money mainly so that we've got we can pay the editing and you know, honestly also show that there's interest to see if we can't get more streaming platforms than simply YouTube interested. Like that's a big thing. It's like it's at the very least going to be up on YouTube and people will be able to see it. Like we want to make sure that it's out to everybody, but we wouldn't complain if Amazon picked it up as like a thing or something else. And yeah,
I can't see why it wouldn't once, like if this gets off the ground, you get your your goal, and they see the finished product. How wow, okay, let's put this on. So fingers crossed for you that all goes well. Myself, I think it looks awesome. I do think it looks new and fresh. It's something a little bit different in the field than I've seen before. And hello, Sean Overkill with an O. Just saying hi to you guys. But two different shows, and they both equally look awesome, but they do look a little different in terms of, I think, in Human Beings is, like we said, more of a paranormal episodic type of show, which is great because that can go on for as long as you want it to go on. But the New Blood, I think, is, and you tell me if I'm wrong, more of a shorter documentary type thing.
Well, New Blood happened because Fenn was going through some stuff, and a friend literally threw my book at them and was like, read this, I think it has your answers. And with the Vampire Codex, if it speaks to you, it's like this sort of like mind-blowing thing. And it usually raises more questions than it answers. So Fenn reached out and was just like, just vomiting their experience all over me. And then they're like, by the way, I'm a filmmaker. Would it be okay if I documented, you know, our conversations and sort of like this process of like my initiatory experience, my awakening, like just trying to sort all this stuff out. And I mean that at first I was like, well, that gets into like some really like personal stuff. Like I will
Deep
talk
stuff.
about psychic stuff is safe to talk about on TV for me. UFOs, anything like that. Heck, Sasquatch is pretty safe. But like when you get into like the really deep nitty gritty of my personal magical practice and past life stuff and connections, the mystical society I founded and have run since 1996, and just all of the like really deeply weird stuff with the vampire community,
Mhm.
that some people get pretty like, "Ugh, this is too weird for me." So I was like, well, let's test it. Like, come, I've got this place in Oberlin. So I was like, let's all meet at Inspiration House and we'll just sort of see what happens from there.
Yeah.
And we were comfortable enough, and it just so many things started to just pop off. And you get to see in the trailer my very first Estes method session. I'd never done it before. It was kind of fun.
That is what? What is that now?
Estes method, where like they use like the ghost box, where it like just sort of like goes through stuff, but instead of having it sort of like shout at everybody in the room, you've got one person who's using it kind of like a scrying device.
Yeah.
They've got it in their ears. They're the only one hearing it. It's noise canceling, so they can't hear any of the questions being asked to them. You're blindfolded, so you're in, you know, limited sensory depth.
Yeah.
So like you're basically just letting this thing speak to you and through you while everybody else in the session asks questions. And it's always, I'd seen other people do it and I didn't, I
Yeah.
don't know, like being in it, the way the questions and answers line up is always, it's always pretty cool, honestly.
Oh yeah. I've seen Amy and Adam. They do it quite
Mhm.
often in Kindred Spirits and get some very interesting results. So yeah, I can see where it was probably amazing doing it because as we seen in the clip, you know, you were hearing things and that you were answering as they were asking questions. So definitely very unique. So
Yeah, the question and answer gets really cool because literally like you make sure that it's noise canceling. You can't hear the questions, but it hits a point where you almost don't want to believe that as a spectator because it's
Right.
call and response, and I don't know, it raises the question of like how does communication really work, like how connected are we?
Right. Yeah. No. And you know, that's the thing too. I mean, it's hard to believe. Like when people watch stuff like that, it's like, is that set up? Is that real?
Mhm.
But you know, unless you really let yourself go and try to be, you know, just think differently. You know what I mean? Stuff like this really does happen. Right. Right.
Well, and one of the things about paranormal investigation TV shows to me is like there's been this great push for evidence. The audience wants evidence, like make sure you get EVPs and like Class A apparitions and stuff. And I think personally, after doing this for as many decades as I've done this, I think what the audience wants is the quest. Like people who are willing to ask the questions and be open to whatever possibilities might happen, and also open to the possibility that there are no easy answers,
Yeah.
and that the quest itself, like that's an adventure, like it changes us, and that it can be worth it just for that. New blood goes into that. Like we start with just the quest, and we did not aim for a neat solution beyond people are going to ask questions and we'll see what we do from there.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff happened as a result.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Well, new blood, you're kind of going after a different kind of thing, right? So whereas in human beings is you know totally paranormal, like your investigation and stuff. New blood, you're going after something a little bit different, right?
it's a personal quest to understand how a particular type of psychic experience works. Psychic vampirism is just another way of relating to energy. I don't, in the same way that I don't like trot out the fact that like I am a queer intersex person on every show that I'm on. I don't be like I am a psychic vampire and that's why I can do all the psychic stuff. Like
Right.
it's redundant, right? But it is a key part of how I do what I do. So if you've ever seen my readings on, say, like Katrina and Taddy's Travel the Dead or Portals to Hell, and you're like, how is that even real? How is it even possible? Especially like the remote viewing stuff. I'm like, that is because of my very unique relationship with energy that I define as vampirism.
Okay.
Because I've got this inborn sense of the vital energy of not just people, but spirits and places, and a specific way of interfacing with it. And I'm not the only one. Like, this is something that there's a subset of the population that have it. And they might call it a different thing. But in the 80s and 90s, vampire was the easiest word because there is an aspect of taking that energy for ourselves from consenting and willing donors, other people, partners who kind of like support us energetically, because what we can do takes so much juice, so much oomph, that we need more than the average person.
Yeah.
So I don't know, my psychic car is a race car and it needs high octane.
No, I hear you. So much is taken from you. You need it put back, you know. So
Well,
I get that.
And New Blood does still have some of the familiar investigative moments, because in trying to understand what this ability is, how it works, and what it means, we are also communicating with spirits. We are also measuring effects that we're doing. We're drawing on both magical, metaphysical, psychic, as well as technological tools to see, like, okay, well, we're talking about energy. Does it show up on film? Can we measure it? Does a FLIR, does an EMF, like, where, if we point the tools at it, can we see what's going on? Or can we at least see that something's going on?
Yeah. What is it? The flare? What's the instrument where you point it at something, you get the stick figure? What is that again?
Oh, well, it's actually repurposed gaming technology from,
Right.
I don't remember what they started to call it in the paranormal, but yeah, that one, they use it on a couple of the other ones. I don't know if they use it in Inspiration House. I'll be honest, I was not there for everything. I would
Okay.
let them just kind of process overnight and come back and be like, okay, guys, did the house eat you or not?
Oh, listen, because I had two guests on that ripped that apart, and they hated it, and they said,
It
what's it for? It's a connect. It's to get the shape of your body. So what's it going to do? It's going to show it.
always, yes.
So, you know, I
But-
just wanted to see
so-
your opinion on that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the problem with a lot of the technology that we use for ghost hunting, is most of it is technology that was developed for something else that has been
Yeah.
repurposed. And a lot of the folks who are doing paranormal investigation may not fully understand the original purpose and like how it was made. And sometimes they don't care as long as it seems to give them the results that they want.
Yeah.
So yeah, that the Connect one, I am very on the fence about it, because
Okay.
it, more so even than the human eyeball, like pareidolia is a thing. Like when you're looking at static, or like you're driving late at night through like a snowstorm or something, like your brain, the way it's wired for patterns, will start to take chaos and make it look like shapes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with EVPs, it's also why it's really tricky to completely assess an EVP, because on a very core level, whether we want to or not, our brain tries to make things seem like things that are familiar. It tries to give them a shape or a sound that we can recognize so that we can process it. That's just how senses work.
Right.
And when we build a machine to do the same thing, that bias is also there. You build a machine to try to make something look like a person, everything's going to look like a person.
Exactly. Okay. So I just threw that out there. I
No,
wanted
no,
to hear what.
it is a valid question.
Yeah.
But part of what we're doing, and I think part of what like the whole paranormal investigation thing is at this point, is like, all right, there's all of these tools. Let's try all of them, see what our experiences of them are. Like, what do we think?
Yeah.
I don't believe in saying this thing is crap until I've used it a couple of times and I'm like, nope, definitely crap.
Yeah. And if it connects with other things that are happening on other devices and people are feeling, you
Right.
know.
That's the thing. For me, if you've got like 5 different things all going at the same time and all of them are going off, that's a data point saying that there's something going on. Even
Right.
if even if we're not really sure we agree with, all of the ins and outs of those things individually.
Right.
But if you just walk into a place and the K2 meter beeps, and that's the only thing that you've used in the place, my suggestion is always go back, try something else, compare.
Yeah.
Go back, try something else, compare.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you gotta tinker with many. I love your cabinetry back there. Tell me a little bit about that. I know what it is, but explain it. I love it.
Filming in my apothecary nook.
There you go.
I do a lot of herbalism, and I make incense, a lot of handmade, like a lot of spellcraft and stuff. So behind me are all kinds of imported herbs and resins. Most of it is for incense making, but some of it is for, like, healing and personal stuff.
Yeah.
And this is just my workspace. Over
Love
that way is like a little elevated kind of Pullman car bed that is where I sit and do most of my writing, and also most of my cat wrangling.
Really? A Pullman type car?
So it's a bit, if you know what a Pullman car in
Yes.
train is, where it's like a little raised bed and it's got a curtain. So I've got basically like a little cubby that
Oh, I love it.
it's permanently installed blanket fort, I think, is the best way
Okay.
of describing it.
Yes. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm similar, where there is this like little place that's you almost want to crawl into it, and it's your comfort area.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people with social anxieties and stuff like that, it just makes them more comfortable and
Yeah.
tucked in. And anyways, we're going a different direction. Anyways,
Also, I have a lot of things that like shield me in my house, because
Mhm.
I'm psychic to a degree that isn't exactly workable, and it doesn't matter like how much mental shield. Well, first of all, holding up the amount of mental shielding that I need, like in a crowd, to just function like a normal person, as
Yeah.
opposed to somebody who's picking up like everybody's background thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. It's especially exhausting in my house. So my house is built with wards and shields and physically set up to just give me spaces that are quiet and secluded, so I can just chill, because
Yeah.
good Lord, I need that.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Let me ask you this: psychic medium, psychic vampire. Both? What do you? Why psychic vampire?
For
Is
me,
there-
you can't have one without the other. So a vampire in this context is not, Dracula who has risen from his tomb. Although I have slept in a coffin, because I was in a production of Oliver in high school, and the coffin was the only place to take a nap where you wouldn't end up with shaving cream on your face from the other actors.
Yeah. And you're probably a weird kid, and there's nothing wrong with that. I was
Oh
too.
yes,
I
very
loved all
weird
that
kid.
weird, different stuff.
Old school goth, into horror,
Yep.
reading Allan Poe in second grade, like definitely a weird kid.
Yes.
But vampire in this context is the best word we have in the English language for someone who needs to regularly and actively take human vital energy for themselves. So there's a feeding aspect. There is a vampiric aspect to somebody who uses the word vampire. And that's probably the most basic thing. But the psychic part of that is we're not talking blood, flesh, souls. We're talking energy. We're talking this sort of liquid asset that flows through every person, every living thing. And the word vampire wouldn't fit if it was just the energy of the earth or the energy of the stars or the trees or whatever. Like, there's so many pagans and Wiccans and witches who work with that stuff. And while I can tap into that for certain magical workings, when it comes to sustaining myself, like the way my body works, it has to be people. And trust me, I am in my 5th decade now. I have tried every other possible option, and this is just a thing. And in my teens or so, back in the zines days, where like we started to communicate before the internet, in the land before time, when everything was snail mail.
I know.
Yeah, you know. I know.
Yes.
Found that I wasn't the only weird person with this quirk.
Yeah.
And for me, my ability to sense spirits, which I've had since I was little, my ability to sense energy, like this is something I have been doing since I was tiny, before I had words for it. And like words are just, sort of like convenient tags that we put on the boxes to sort of like try to wrap our heads around something that
Right.
doesn't have a good definition otherwise.
Yeah.
And vampire is the one that works for me. The way I function is different from a witch. It's different from your, average psychic. I'm not just a Reiki practitioner. There is an element to it that you don't find in those. And vampire fits. And also
Okay.
I'm a goth, so I don't mind it.
Right, right. No. So I figured that it was kind of that kind of. What is the energy uh, uh, in general? What is it? What is it that connects all of us? I don't know if that's
Yeah.
a weird question, but I'm trying to listen. I've got a ton of questions, you know
Well,
what I mean,
it's
in life, but
complicated though too, because like we use this word energy, but it's also like vampire. It's a word that has a lot of different meanings, and it's an imperfect label. We talk about uh
and it's got many names like
yeah,
aura, all
well,
kinds of different things. Yeah.
yeah, and it's energy. It's not like it's electricity.
Mhm.
It is some sort of vital force. In yoga, it's prana. In Tai Chi and in a lot of Asian traditions, it's chi. It's ruach. It's just this strange like breath, life, energy thing that we recognize flows among people. We can tell when it's not in a body anymore.
Mhm.
We can tell when there is a spirit that doesn't have a body, but there's still a life force there. And it still has the ability to like strangely like affect the way we feel and like project emotions and communicate. It's using some pathway, some route to do that, some way to connect.
And
And
that's why I asked you because you said it's not electricity, okay? Because
it,
we are
yeah,
all connected in one way or the other, the entire universe, everything in it, by electricity. So it's something totally different.
our bodies are run on on this bioelectric charge, and I think it is connected to that, but it is not as simple as you could hook it up and measure it as electrical impulses.
Hmm.
It is interesting that it does have a light, like literally a light aspect. There was an ongoing experiment at the Rhine Institute where they'd gotten this really very expensive, fancy piece of equipment that measured individual photons of light. So a really highly calibrated piece of scientific equipment that is normally used in like this the double slit quantum mechanics. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
So what they were doing is based on the fact that all of these different cultures will usually talk about this force, this energy, and frequently will use terminology like light, a glow, an aura, a halo. They were like, well, what if it actually has some light? Like what if it's measurably light?
Yeah.
And with that, what if they just had everybody and anybody, no matter their background, if they felt they practiced some type of energy work, whether it was, pranayama yoga or Tai Chi or, hands of light energy healing, come on into the experiment, go into this like double dark room. There was a whole lot of protocols to make sure that there was no outside light, no reflective surfaces. Go sit down in this chair in front of this piece of equipment and then do the thing that you feel raises energy or moves energy and see if it changes the amount of light in the room.
Hmm.
Now, the first thing is to know about this is the human body does emit naturally a certain amount of measurable light. Every one of us emits light. It's not necessarily in a visible spectrum, but this was calibrated to pick up the spectrum we glow in.
Okay.
So the first part of it is to just get the baseline of what does the person's body, like how many photons of light do you put out just sitting at rest? And then, you get that baseline.
Okay.
And then they do their thing. And if it's real, like if there's actually something happening, the experiment says there should now be more light being emitted in that room. And there is.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. Okay.
So at the very least, what we can say is that human beings have the ability to willfully increase the amount of light their bodies put out on a frequency that is not visible to the eye, but is nevertheless measurable.
Wow. Okay.
And
Very interesting.
And you want to know the different thing that I did when they tested me on that? And this is where the vampirism thing is like, wow, this is one of the most validating moments. So
Okay.
and they're like, well, emit light. And I'm like, my thing doesn't quite work like that. Like I pull stuff in and then I can put it out, but I got to take it from somewhere. And he's like, well, whatever you do, just do your thing. That's all we ask people to do.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So I'm like, all right, pull from all of my sources, oomph, pull, oomph.
Okay.
And part of it is to say, like, kind of like verbally let them know so that they've got a like little timestamp of like, when you're doing the thing, like tell us when you're doing the thing.
Yeah.
He let me watch what my thing looked like. So I went in there, I had a baseline, I was like emitting a small amount of like little things.
And they were measuring it the whole time you were doing everything.
Yep.
Okay.
I pull in, I zeroed out the room. Just
Okay.
and I did the thing and it popped up and I zeroed it. Like every time I pulled, it just all went away. And he's like, I've never seen that before. And I'm like, well, I mean, I call it vampirism. I mean, we can measure it. I don't know what it is, but it's clearly a thing people can do, or at least some people can do.
Yeah. So all the light that they were picking up once you pulled disappeared.
Gone.
Okay. Okay.
So I became a little miniature black hole for a little while, and in like whatever that phase was, and then was able to put enough energy out that it spiked up the way that like a regular energy worker does. But my cycle, my process was quite different.
Okay. Okay.
And really that's the whole thing is something about the way people like me function is different enough from what a Reiki practitioner or a Qigong practitioner would experience. Yeah. That we sort of need to be able to put our heads together and be like, okay, is it like this for you? Okay, it's like this for me. Because we're not going to find a guidebook that tells us how we work if we have to find, I don't know, we're just cut from a different piece of cloth, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I hear you. There was a show that I watched many years ago, which getting back to the light and energy and how you kind of connect with people and know what you know, being a psychic medium, a psychic vampire. They had an infrared camera pointed at two individuals, one that was somebody who could tap into people, a psychic, and there was a glow around the individual that he was trying to talk to, and the psychic himself was sitting there and he had a glow around him. And the infrared camera started, as he started to pull things out of him, you could see the color of, I forget what color it was, red or whatever, but he was pulling it and it was coming towards him as he was speaking the facts that I forget the conversation, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I do. And the thing is like we can measure it. We still don't know quite what we're measuring.
Right.
But what we can say is something's happening.
Yeah.
We don't fully have the language. We certainly don't have the language. And we don't quite have the tools. Like until we really know what we're talking about when we say energy. Yeah. We can't construct a tool to actually measure it because we still don't know like what type of energy. Are we talking dark matter? Are we talking the strings that quantumly hold the world together? Like we don't know. Yeah. We don't know. We just know that we don't know. But that there's definitely something going on there.
Right. Well, that's why I ask all these questions, because there are two separate things. Like there's energy, there's electricity, and then there's this other thing that people call their chakra or their soul. You know what I mean? And why are they separate? Are they separate? They are separate, I guess. I've heard from enough people say they're separate.
Yeah.
But yeah.
From my experience, like, okay, I can talk to a spirit, and that spirit is like an individual consciousness, but there's also a form that goes with that. And while that form is, by my perception, made up of energy, there's a part of it that is what I think of as like energetic bones and flesh. Like it's a structure that doesn't the type of energy that I feed on is more like the blood, in the sense that you can lose some of it and it's not like you're like cutting your arm off.
Right.
You can give some of it up, and it's not like you're giving up your essential self, and you will grow it back. And spirits have some of that energy. That's why I say our words, our language is
Yeah.
insufficient, because we're kind of groping toward all of these. We're calling one thing, we're calling like 15 things energy, and we're calling like 15 things soul or spirit, and it's
Yeah.
pretty complicated. It's
Yes. Yes.
happy Pride Month because yay, or
Yes. Sarah's James. Yep. 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 Michelle, happy Pride Month. Yepper. So yeah, it's complicated. Yes. And it's a question, and it's all part of me trying to figure out the end, right? That's what I'm doing. So, I want to get to another topic, but we still, do I still continue this? Do you feel, okay,
Well,
let me just, another vampire question. Okay.
Okay.
You don't feel guilty pulling from the people that you pull from.
Well, it's
Or let me ask
yeah.
this. Are there certain people that you pull from so you don't feel guilty? Are you getting where I'm going with this?
Yeah, no, there's
Okay.
so I penned the ethics for the vampire community. That's why I say, like, I'm one of the founding members. It wouldn't be a community if it was a bunch of antisocial people just randomly feeding off of people willy-nilly.
Right.
We make up, like, once you realize, I think I take stuff from people as sort of just part of how I work. Now, first thing to understand is every human interaction, there is give and take.
Yeah.
Every time we have a conversation, even if it isn't a bunch of psychics, like, there's stuff that happens and moves and flows between us, and that's just life.
Yeah.
Even on a very physical level, like when you're sitting and talking with someone, you are breathing the same air, and inevitably you're breathing some of the air that person breathed out.
Yeah.
So we're always in a type of communion, and somebody who's vampiric takes more than the average person in a way that is often noticeable. So once you become aware that that's something that you do, you find folks who are, for me, it's very strict. They need to be aware of energy work, and like how things work for their own body, how that feels, so they can check in if they're really not doing okay, either during the exchange or afterwards, because there are effects of touching someone on that energetic level. Like, we don't normally interact on that level as a daily practice. I would argue that certain intense and intimate moments, whether like really deep conversations where we sort of feel like we're now communicating beyond words, where like the sense of time and place and people melts away, or intimate moments between people that are a little more physical. Again, where those sense of boundaries and self melts away, that's when regular people are connecting on that energetic level. Like, there is an exchange happening there, and you know it when you're doing it. You feel it. It changes you. But that's something that I do and need to do on a regular basis. I would be a horrible person if I didn't do that with full knowledge and consent on the other person's part. And I know how bad, because when I was a kid, I didn't understand. I was still like this, and I still did stuff, and I got to watch it just completely wreck people's worlds. Like, at the very least, they would feel really weird for a couple of days, and like everything would just be off kilter. And so, yeah, to be somebody like this is to be aware that you have an impact on the people around you, and you have to make choices about that impact. And those choices need to be compassionate, responsible, and considerate.
Okay. Have you learned over the year? Well, of course you have. I mean, a dumb question, but
Yeah.
I only say because I'm still at a point in my life, because I'm kind of the same way. I'm constantly pulling energy from people, and a lot of the times, Michelle, it's kind of a I pull a lot of the sadness or the energy. Somebody told me a long time ago, I'm a healer. You don't know it, but you're a healer. And I've known my whole life that I pull energy from people. I can feel it. But a lot of the times it's the sadness that I feel. I don't feel the higher energy level of the happiness and stuff like that. I'm not talking about depression or anything like that. Totally
you're,
different.
you're hitting on something that we in the community recognize pretty early on. Like the line, empath and vampire are two sides of the same coin. Like the words that we're using. So empaths are people who connect to energy with others and are usually like just sort of overwhelmed by their emotions. Like they suck them up like sponges, but they don't really get anything useful out of it. They're taking from other people, and the other person usually is better off. Like now they've had like they've been relieved of it.
Right.
But the empath is now like, and now I feel like poop.
100%. I've dealt with that my whole life. And again, when I walk away from a person who like I got a friend who was dealing with cancer for a long time, and I was by his side quite often. When I would leave him, I felt so awful. And throughout the next day or two, it slowly, my energy level and everything else would have to work its way up. But they started to feel better. You know what I mean? Like you said. So I just thought I'd throw that out there and ask that. So yeah.
No, there's a lot of shamanic style healing techniques in cultures around the world where like how you heal people is you take the illness out of them, and some of that involves taking it into yourself. And the training that is essential in these situations is, what do you do with it once you've taken it? Like how do you transform it or transmute it so it doesn't then also destroy you?
Right.
And a similar mechanic is at play with folks who are vampiric. And really early on with the community, I was like, has anybody considered that the folks, like those of us who are calling ourselves vampires, that if we were born and raised in a different culture, we might just simply be the people who were called to be shaman? Like we walk in between, we're aware of spirits, we're sort of like these liminal beings, we naturally connect to this stuff. The people that we take from when we do it in a functional way, like we're healing them, we're also healing ourselves. One of the terms that was touted for shamans in like the 80s and 90s was the wounded healer. And, you know, when I say shaman, I mean just like a Native American thing. Like there is a shamanic style of healing that is tied to a number of indigenous cultures. And there's a sort of mechanism that you can see behind the multiple traditions. I mean, arguably to me, I think is an inborn human trait that our culture, our particular culture, just sort of lost touch with understanding how it works and why.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. And I have since learned to kind of release that energy, that negative energy. But I'm just going through life not really like you. I think you've got a better grasp and hold on it than I do. I just can't focus in on it enough to you know, get it down perfect. But nevertheless, okay. So we've talked about the Kickstarter. Links are in the description below. Please check it out.
Yeah, and I know some people were like, "How do I support it?" I'm like, "You can throw money at it, which obviously we appreciate. And if you know anything about TV, we're asking for 66K. That is like a teeny tiny little drop in the bucket. Like for frame of reference, Paranormal State back in like 2007, for a single episode of Paranormal State, the budget was $250,000 for a single episode. So we're literally just sort of like trying to like, you know, get enough duct tape to keep the rest of us going. We're trying to buy coffee for the crew, basically.
Oh no, yeah. I was saying, you know, that's not a lot for what you're asking for to have.
Well, and it's partly because it's already filmed. Like we already did the thing. It is a labor of love, but we want to be able to get it out there. But if money is something that's tight because the world stinks right now, just anything you can do to get word out, share, retweet, engage, all of it is appreciated. You were wonderful people. Like anything, really anything is good.
Did you say engage?
Engage with it. Like,
oh, okay.
No, I'm already married. That's
no. The VR. I'm so into VR and virtual reality, and there's a platform called Engage, and I'm like, wait a second, and you can get together and talk and have meetings and. Anyways, whatever. I'm off.
Gamer. No, I've got the same thing. Like I've got gamer language where somebody will say something. I'm like, oh no, that doesn't mean the same thing to you that it does to me. All right, fine.
Right. Right? We're different wavelengths. Okay,
But
anyways.
that's the thing about language, though. Like,
Yeah.
it means different things depending on who you're talking to, what you're talking about, energy. What is it even?
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I love talking to you, Michelle. I mean, we've already, it's almost the top of the hour, and I'm like, wait a second, I've got a whole list of stuff I wanted to talk to her about.
All
But
right.
here we go. Well, and also the inhuman beings. Again, I don't think we need to go in depth about that. It's a paranormal show. They've seen the trailer. It looks freaking awesome. I know you guys are going to come through with something, and at the least, watch it on YouTube, and hopefully somebody picks it up. But anyways, I want to move on to dreams, okay?
Yeah.
Because dreams are a very interesting thing for me, and I know for a lot of people. Uh, some people don't even remember their dreams, which is very odd to me. But I want to ask you a question because I heard this on a show. I heard somebody who was into dreaming and out of body experiences. We can go way back to Dr. Raymond Moody, if anybody knows who that is. But there's this thing where a question was asked, and he said, what do we really know about dreams? When we fall asleep, when we put our head down on the pillow, okay, are we really just resting? Because things say that we technically aren't. The REMs, the REM sleep that we go through, yeah, all the energy and the activity that's taking place in our head. And listen, you might not even know this, but I'm throwing it out there because when I have dreams, Michelle, they're so real, okay, to the point that I believe that we go somewhere else. I think it's just something totally different. We spend so much time there, okay, for the people who remember, that there's got to be something to it. What are your thoughts on all of that?
So, part of my degree is in psychology, and
Okay.
one thing that we know for sure, the whole REM sleep, physiologically, the function that we understand dreams have on a scientific level is something called memory consolidation.
Right.
I believe, and actually most early psychiatrists and psychologists, including Freud, believed it's more than just that. But the physiological function of dreaming is to take material from short-term memory and transfer it to long-term memory. Like your brain is a hard drive, and when you are sleeping, that is one of the main functions that's happening, and you experience dreams, you'll recognize this type of dream. If you're learning something new, like a cash register at a job at a convenience store, and you've been learning the cash register and you start dreaming what you're learning, or if you're a gamer and you're learning a new game and you start to dream the game and the controls, that's memory consolidation. Your brain is taking it from short-term to long-term memory, and you're experiencing the stream of information as a dream.
Okay.
Your brain tries to, make a story up about it because that's what brains do. But then there are other dreams that don't have an easy explanation for that.
Yes.
And there's dream telepathy, there's death announcing dreams, there's absolutely dreams that I personally believe people travel during their dreams.
Yes.
I wrote Psychic Dream Walking partly because of experiences that I had, but also because of just reading. Death announcing dreams are like one of the single most commonly reported paranormal experience across the board for centuries, where somebody is asleep, they either feel like they have woken up or they're in that like hazy space between sleeping and waking, and a person known to them, either as a family member or a friend, appears and says goodbye or passes on a message. But there is definitely a sense that this person is in crisis, if not in the actual act of passing over. And in prior days, before the internet, and we were as connected as we were, people would wake up and be like, wow, that was weird. And they would note the time.
Yeah.
And days or weeks later, they would find out that at that time is when their friend passed on. And they had no way of knowing that, except somehow they were connected.
Yeah.
And dreams were the pathway of that connection. So what I can say for sure from my own experiences, observations, and also firmly held beliefs, dreams are a pathway of sorts. They are a gate. into inner space as well as outer space, into like other places, into other people's minds and subconsciousness. I think there is a vast web work that connects us as well as more than just people. And dreaming, our dreaming minds are the most receptive we are to traversing those pathways.
Okay, well said. Well said. So it is open. There's lots of things going on when we put our head down to rest at night. It's like you said, processing the day, dream, putting things together, but it also opens the door for us to possibly go to other places or travel. Like you said, I mean, that's totally a thing then, right?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I've had too many experiences that I was able to corroborate
Yeah.
at the point to even doubt it. And
Yeah.
I don't give, my unreserved belief to things easily. I realize that sounds weird because I'm calling myself a psychic vampire, but I'm also the science nerd kid who got a 35 in the ACT. I was not the person that you would have voted most likely to be the psychic on TV in high school. I was a National Merit Scholar.
Well, there you go. Yeah, listen, if you guys have any questions also in the chat, please feel free to ask them. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, dreams just fascinate me. I mean, there's always a world that I go to that I always and they're so vivid. They're real. It's like I'm there. That's how real they are. When I wake up, I go, man, what a great trip that was. I just came from a nice, beautiful place that I didn't actually want to leave, and it's just too unreal. And that's why I thought I'd ask that. And yeah.
No, I think there's really some real stuff that's going on there. Other cultures believed for sure that not all dreams were paranormal, but certainly some of them were people traveling. Dreams were the likeliest place for us to communicate with the spirits and meet with them.
Yeah.
Dreams were the likeliest place for us to communicate with more than human entities. Like that's most of the prophecy. Like prophets in biblical writings, what we've sort of lost in translation is most of that prophecy happens in dreams. Most of the visitations with gods and with angels happen in dreams, and they would actively seek out sleeping in certain places and sacred places in order to prepare themselves to communicate in dreams. The very purpose of a ziggurat in the ancient Middle East, you'd ascend up the steps and you'd sleep. There's a little chamber at the top of the ziggurat. You'd sleep at the top of the ziggurat with the intention of having a dream where the gods communicated with you. And that's not unique only to that culture. Like the dreams were seen as the place where we crossed boundaries in ways that we could not in the waking world. And my favorite Sigmund Freud quote, he's the father of modern psychology. He's got a lot of complications. Sometimes a cigar is not just a cigar. But my favorite quote with him was, if we will find evidence of the paranormal, we will find it in dreams.
Well said. Well said. Let's see. Ed Stathis says, I look at dreams like getting a free movie and sometimes better than a movie. Yes, exactly. Because what comes along with your dreams are real emotions and physicality in some sort of strange way too. So without a doubt, Michelle covering everything pretty good tonight. Don't have any questions. Oh, well, yeah, no. Hopefully you're enjoying it, Edward Stewart. And also, yeah, check out the description below for all her books. If you guys want a book to read, she has over 30 books. I'm not going to list them all, but
I got your books on demons. I got your books on dreams. I got your books on psychic vampires.
Yeah.
I've even got fiction and stories. Anyway.
Yeah. No, you can keep going on. You're a barker in the carnival. Come on in, get your book. Let me ask you a question. Listen, I ask weird questions sometimes that I know you've got so much knowledge. I should be concentrating on that. But Skinwalker Ranch, it's a big deal right now. Well, it's always been a big deal. Stuff's been going on there for centuries, whatever, there's lore there in that area. But they're really ramping it up now with the TV series that's out there. And if anybody were to watch it, they would look at it and they would go, what the heck is going on? This looks so weird. I'm not even watching it. But I mean, I see a lot of very interesting activity and stuff that they're getting into there. What are your thoughts on Skinwalker Ranch? Any?
I mean, my first thought is I really want to go there. There
Right.
that almost came together where like I almost got chucked out there just sort of like be in residence for a couple. But
Definitely.
then the pandemic happened, so not so much. I don't like to toss out theories without like directly assessing a place, because like making a theory off of hearsay is how we end up just making bad mistakes. Right. Clearly something is really hinky there. Like there is up. I mean, if I had to like be like, okay, well, what if it's, I don't say vortex lightly, but it does seem to be an intersection of some really weird energies. Like something seems to come through there, or maybe there's certain places I've been to that seem like soft spots in reality, and just weird shit happens there.
Yeah.
The parts of New Orleans are like that for me. Like there's just some places where like it's almost like you can just like step into the past and step back, and you can't always even tell that the spirits are actually spirits. Like you just are moving between spaces in a way that kind of raises questions of like, do we live in a multiverse? Are there points where that's weirdly entangled and you can kind of like
cross over? Yeah.
And Skinwalker Ranch feels like one of those places where different possibilities collide.
Okay. Yeah, no, very interesting. Well, I mean, they've even got the idea that there could be a giant ship underneath that ground there, and the energy from that could be. So it's all over the place. But yeah, I thought I'd get your opinion on that and what you thought of that, because it's very divided on what people are thinking. You know what I mean? They're like crazy wacko. Others are like, wow, interesting new science. But
well, it's like the Amityville Horror House. Like depending, like it anything like that is always going to divide people, and that's the hard part. Like I'm like that too. I would, if I were watching me, like some of the stuff that I do, my first knee-jerk reaction would be like, nah, that can't be.
Yeah.
Because I am very much one of those people where like I have to be there to experience it for myself, to myself, to actually be like, nope, nobody was faking. Like the people weren't front loaded. Like to really know all the pieces and variables to as much of an extent as you possibly can. It doesn't stop me from wondering though, like being like, well, okay, so if this was real, what could it be? I don't know. So much has been going on with Skinwalker Ranch for so very long. I would argue definitely something is up.
Oh yeah. I mean, Native American lore. I mean, it just goes back so far.
I mean, maybe it's just a bunch of aliens messing with us.
It could be, yeah. Who knows? I mean, listen, we still haven't found a Bigfoot, but they're out there and spotted every single day across every part of the land that we live on. I mean, it's all nuts, and it's great. At the same time,
did you know that Valley City out here has a unique little Bigfoot that they call Fifi?
No, really?
Yep.
Valley City. Okay.
Valley City has its own little Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot's name is Fifi.
Fifi. Okay. Oh yeah. Is your Airbnb? It's there, right, in Oberlin?
Yeah, it's in Oberlin.
Okay. Man, I'm going to have to come. You're not even that far, so I'm going to have to spend a night over there, right? One of these.
It's a fun, active haunting. 89% of the stuff there is just cozy, friendly, like, old people who don't want to move out and have lived their whole lives and died in the house. Like there's been at least 6 deaths in the house that I can find on record, all of them from natural causes, nothing nefarious. And then there's something that kind of like seems to be more attached to the land that's occasionally a little weird, and I haven't quite nailed down what that is. And as I was telling like Fen the other night, when I'm like, I still don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot. And when I'm like, still not quite sure.
Okay.
It's I don't know. It doesn't feel evil by my estimation. It does feel like it could be not malevolent, but like it could do harm if it wanted to.
Okay.
But I don't know like what. Yeah, I haven't been able to quite nail it down, and I think partly because it moves. I don't think it's like specifically in the house or tied to the house.
Okay.
But sometimes it intersects with it.
Gotcha. Things out there that we just can't quite connect with or figure out. Is there any time in your life where, since you are connected to energy, people, things, spirits, whatever, there are monsters out there too? Let's just say Bigfoot. Have you ever gone looking for such a creature, a cryptid?
Oh, sure. I mean,
okay. So the question is,
I grew up watching Bigfoot and Wild Boy. Of course, I looked for.
Okay, well, I know. Dumb question, I know, but listen,
of course I went looking for Bigfoot, and I had an uncle who was a Vietnam vet, and he had some connection to Project Blue Book in the early 70s.
Okay.
And we would go UFO hunting. And I heard stories from him. Like, he was full of stories. And he was, electrical engineer. He worked for MCI. Had a really high security, like he had a high enough security clearance that before my aunt Denise married him, a whole family had to be vetted by the FBI. I was like 3.5 and going to be the flower girl, and I had to sit down and have an interview with an FBI agent.
Oh, geez.
Like, that was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, and he was involved with Project Blue Book. Okay,
yeah.
So
and he definitively believed in UFOs.
Okay. Well, so then my question is, on these, what would you even call it, outings to search for, whether you were sitting there looking for a UFO and you spotted one in the sky, being a psychic and kind of you can feel spirits, and you can't pin down what's there in Oberlin or whatever, but have you ever been sitting down? What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, no. Have you ever felt that presence enough to go, okay, I think I see exactly what that is? Or if it was a Bigfoot, you know what I mean?
I know what you're asking. So I grew up in Hinckley, Ohio, and
beautiful place.
There was definitely there was a UFO flap. There was a bunch of activity in the early 70s there.
Yeah.
What I can say is this: there were several times where either with Uncle Ray or with my grandmother, we saw some stuff in the sky that did not fit, wasn't aircraft. And sometimes it was like, no, pretty sure there was a feel. Yeah. There was a feel for the things that seemed uncanny or otherworldly. And I don't know how else to describe it. When you are doing a paranormal investigation, a haunting investigation, and there's a spirit presence, there's also like the atmosphere in the space changes. If you've been there, you know what this feeling is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes like you process it as being watched, but it's just something changes on a level that some part of you notices. Like instinctively, you're like, something is going on.
Yeah.
And it's this full body sensation. So the few times where I'm like, nope, pretty sure that's actually a UFO, whatever that is, it also came with that uncanny feeling of something is different.
Okay. And you think you can't pinpoint that really, or
well, it's more that I'm not willing to go, it's little green men.
Because I've seen you on shows where you've been blindfolded and you've connected with the spirit, and you know it's a little girl, whatever.
Oh yeah,
it's a little
well, honestly,
girl.
I was young enough. I didn't try to talk with the UFO. I was just like, this feels weird. I'd like to go hide under the blankets now.
Right, right. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got the question. I mean, you know, like
No, I totally-
even a Bigfoot, what
the-
is it? You know,
the thing with the UFO stuff is like, so my experiences with that. My grandmother, the one that I'm specifically remembering, and it's funny because like I have no fear at all working with spirits and ghosts, but my grandmother would get really weird with the lights in the sky. And on a few occasions, like would actively be like, get away from the window now, go hide. And that left an impression on me. I don't know what she knew, or she was also psychic. I inherited a lot of my abilities from her, for good or for bad. She
go
was
hide.
second or yeah, no, like there were a couple of things that happened when I was little that I'm not quite sure what the end result was, because the rest of that hour or two was spent in the back of a closet.
Wow. Okay. Well,
So
huh.
I don't know.
Man, I wish I knew more of that. But
No, I no, exactly. Like I often will like kind of revisit those. I'm like, so was my grandma like just freaking out? She was deadly serious. Like she was like, she saw something, like we were looking at it. I remember one time where like we lost time. And like the clock like just skipped forward, or it seemed to skip forward 15 minutes. And when she noticed that, she's like, we need to get away from the window now. And I'm like, okay.
But you were just too small to kind of,
I was, what, 5, 6? Like I don't know, not old enough to like really do anything other than like whatever Graham said.
Yeah. Well, then let me beat around the bush a little bit more on this subject.
Yeah. No,
and hello, Dave Plouffe. What's going on? Good to see you. Me and Dave Plouffe's been doing a Remembering Art Bell show and talking about all the guests and the experiences that we loved listening to back in the day. So
I think Art Bell was the first like paranormal thing I was on.
Yes.
Way back in the day, like I was on my old like dial-up phone. Still with the cord and everything. The thing that we now just see on Stranger Things as if it was a relic from the past.
Yes. You had to have been on 94, 5, 6-ish, somewhere around there.
Yeah, like probably 94 or 95 because I was still in the Hinckley house.
Right. Yeah, at the very beginning. Okay, beating around the bush here a little bit more. Okay, so I couldn't get nothing out of you about that UFO or that Bigfoot.
Yeah, I wish I had more answers, but it's
it's okay. But
it's a weird thing in my childhood.
Yeah. But even up to now, all your investigations you've been on, everything you've done, you've never encountered anything that in your mind you pictured something that just was not human, that you could see the shape, you could see the eyes, you can kind of figure this is what.
There's no. There's plenty of things that are not human.
Okay.
It's more a question of like, do we think of them like, what are they? How did they get here? Like, are they like physical aliens that have traveled here? Are they interdimensional beings? Are they ultra terrestrials? There are plenty of spirits that I'm like, that is definitely not a human being. It is also not a demon. Like I know that's most people's default. Not human, therefore demon. And it's way more complicated than that. There's so many things that aren't people shaped. There are things that are land spirits. There are things that are just older than humans that don't have anything remotely like a human shape. There are definitely things that seem to have come from elsewhere. And sometimes it seems more like they just sort of like are passing through, like briefly they intersected with our reality, and not even intentionally. Like it's just, you get a blip and it is moving on a completely different plane of existence than the rest of us. So yeah, no, 100%.
Okay.
Non-human stuff, definitely in human beings out there. And then the question is, but what is that?
Yeah. Which is, you can't really answer, really. And that was what I was trying to get to. Like, if you sense this being or whatever, and you feel, I mean, it's earthbound evidently, right?
Not always.
No,
Some,
okay.
like I said, just passing through, like
Okay.
present in that moment. I've interacted with some things that I would think of as visitors.
Okay.
That other people would be like, "Oh, that's a shadow person." And I'm like, "Nope, that's a thing that is very awkwardly trying to look like a human being, because that's its way of trying to be like, hey, I'm communicating with you. I'll look like you." It's sort of like trying to speak Spanish if you're in Mexico.
But never any thoughts, back and forth thoughts, conversation wise, or just anything.
No conversations I'm willing to talk about
Okay.
in too much detail.
Okay.
But have I had conversations? Yes.
Okay. Well, that was interesting.
At least I believe that I have.
Okay. Okay.
And that's part of it, is like, it's very subjective. And like that gets into like some pretty weird and wild weeds of like, I know what I think I experienced, but can I guarantee that wasn't simply my perception? No. So I'll always hesitate if I'm like, well, this was particularly weird, and also I'm not sure how I would back it up.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll take that. I'll take that. My gosh, Michelle, it's so time flies so fast, and there's so much I'd like to talk to you about. But yeah, I gotta get out there to where you're at one of these nights. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Ed, I think that's just a joke you're talking. Question: do ghosts have shadows? I mean, what? Come on, what? It's good. It's gotta be a joke.
Very apothecary, like it is in fact my apothecary nook. Like there's
yes. Yes, I pointed that out earlier, Dave. Yeah, look at that. Not to mention her nice little cozy spot to the right of her there. But anyways, let's see. Michelle can come back. Listen, down the road, I'm sure eventually. She's a busy woman, but
yeah, I'm not sure I'm ever going to do a Kickstarter again. This is a lot of work.
And again, we are getting to the bottom of the hour. We can start to wind this up. I'm not going to bring up another subject because we go on for another 20 minutes. But again, please check out the links below. The Kickstarter for the 2 new shows they're trying to get off the ground. Share it, tweet it, talk about it, whatever you want to do. Contribute, whatever. Please do. I'm looking forward to all of that stuff. I would do my best to get this link out for the show to as many places as I possibly can.
Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. So I'll definitely do that. I'll do my part. And again, I'd like to have some of the other people on and talk even more. So
what I will say is, so I hesitate to go into like, what do I believe about things that are not human? Mm-hmm. I Fen and folks on the they get me talking about it. I'm not normally, it's something that I've always hesitated about. We go pretty in depth in New Blood.
Okay.
In some really raw places for me, places that I'm like, well, people are just going to think that I'm knucking futz. And
you can swear on here, but I get you. No.
Yeah. I'm never sure. I cost somebody some FCC stuff back in the day, so I'm real careful. Sorry, Dave.
So you definitely go a little bit farther and talk about things you're not usually comfortable with.
I go a lot farther than I thought I was going to. Like I have some beliefs that I've kept very close to my chest, and we just sort of stuff happened, and stuff happened. Well, also there was a hypnotherapy session. So I was under hypnosis, and I didn't have my usual self-editing button.
Okay. Well, see, that's what's going to be good about this. I mean, there would probably have to be edits for if it got to TV or something. Well, not Amazon or maybe some of these other places, but definitely YouTube.
Well,
we should get a raw look at everything that was going on.
but I mean, that's part of it. Doing it ourselves is like we get to decide how much we put there and really let ourselves just be as messy and raw and whatever. And that was the purpose. And
Yeah.
however strange and weird it gets, we just follow it and let it be the shape it needs to be.
Yeah. No, listen, I wish you all the best for sure. And I will talk to you down the road. But definitely I like to get Fen on for a show and talk more about all of this, and then get kind of her experiences and stuff too. So let's roll with this for a while and see what happens. So
yeah, and if people want to catch like the most recent psychic thing I was doing, Katrina Weidman and Heather Taddy, also from Paranormal State, have Travel the Dead up on Katrina's YouTube, and there's an investigation of Selma House. And I'll be honest, I was watching the playback and I was like, no, did that? No.
Wait, okay, so what is that? YouTube?
Travel the Dead is the name of the show. It is on Katrina Weidman's YouTube.
Okay.
And the current one they're doing is an investigation of Selma House. And I believe that the second part of the investigation dropped today. And last week was my psychic walkthrough that was remote viewing. And
okay,
yeah, it just gets a little ridiculous, the level of like somebody's just carrying me around as a phone and I can't see anything and I'm just like describing the door they walk through.
wow.
It's
okay,
ridiculous.
well, I'm definitely going to check that out, because it's stupid to say I'm a fan of yours, but I do enjoy what you do, and it's coming from a real place is what I'm kind of trying to say. So I'll definitely check that out. And I will put you off to the side here, say goodbye. And
fare thee well all.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for coming on the show again. And please, everybody, go check out all her stuff, all things Michelle. Get her books, plenty to read. So
you will not be lacking for reading material.
No, plenty to read. Anyways, thanks everybody for joining us. Well, I'm just going to say goodbye here. Thank you each and every one for joining us tonight, and for those who are going to watch us in the future. Please donate to the Kickstarter. We need 2 new shows, Inhuman Beings and New Blood. We need it. God, do we need it, because there's not a lot of shows out there.
Yep.
Anyways, right. And we were not even getting as deep as we should on that matter. But anyways, peace and love to